Hello and welcome to my channel. This is the second week in Advent. We have two candles up above. The second Sunday in Advent, on the lead up to Christmas. Now this is the lead up to our Christmas diamond painting premieres that I have invited so many creator friends to join me in. And a little bit of a whip and chat. It's Sunday just to kind of get us ready, maybe get us into the mood, if that's something that you need to do. What is happening? I have 2 slots left from creators on the premiere at this stage. If you're still interested, please contact me. Sorry, I need more lights. The lighting is doing a funky thing. It's raining quite heavily outside. It's quite grey with that glaring light. Yeah, it's better. Alright, I can see what I'm doing now. Yeah, I have 2 creators left. I have 2 creator slots. If you are a creator, please contact me. If you are already involved in the premiere and you know of other creators, 'cause I only know so many creators, and I know a lot, but if you know somebody, please invite them personally and have them jump on board. As I say, I've 2 slots to fill, and would really love to have these back to back to back and not have anyone having to do any double ups. And I know I've had volunteers, I'm so grateful for that, but I would really like to share the burden rather than overburden anyone more than they need to be over Christmas. So what is happening? We are on the 7th of December. The 7th of December is still, where are we, 20 odd days out from Christmas? No, I can't do maths. Not 18 days out. Oh god, that's so close. I haven't done any preparations for Christmas at all. I need to go into the cupboard and I need to find out what ingredients I have to make my husband's grandmother's stained glass window cake. Now, stained glass window cake, to me, it reminds me of Christmas. I don't know if it reminds him of Christmas, but what used to happen with me, with Mum, and maybe this is what I'm talking about, Mum and boarding school, I don't know. Who knows where my head goes sometimes, but with Mum used to do the baking. I remember Mum making Christmas cakes, and I remember Mum having the glacé cherries, and this has been on my mind for probably the last week, to get my ass into the cupboard and do inventory in the pantry for the ingredients for this cake, because they're slightly unusual. They're big nuts. I think it's Brazil nuts, and there's hazelnuts, and there's maybe almonds. It's a white meat cake. It's a white flesh. Sorry, what was that? Yeah, it's a white fleshed cake. So you know how you get fruit cakes and they're brown? This is white, so it's kind of like a Madeira cake. I haven't got a hope in hell of being able to do a comparable job, I don't think. I'll try, but, you know. Yeah, Grandma apparently used to do 7 layers of icing on these things. I don't put icing on it at all, it's just... Okay, they can't hear you on camera and you're miles away, so yeah, they're not going to hear. Marcus is just talking about how Grandma used to put 7 layers of thin icing on these things, and she was like CWA standard cooking, I think, as well. So yeah, CWA. Sorry? yeah, she used to win everything at the shows. Now, if you have any inkling, if you have fairs over in your local area, you will know there are one or two old queens, old ducks in the village who win everything. They just, yeah. Well, the CWA over here are competitive as all hell, these women. They're old biddies who have been doing this forever. They're stay-at-home mothers, grandmothers, and probably great-grandmothers by now. They do the whole knitting and crocheting and, you know, bitching and snitching and everything else. The competition is hot, let me tell you. There are some movies out there that kind of go into this kind of Aussie competitiveness, and trust me, Aussies are competitive. So yeah, they're really particular. Like, if you haven't creamed your butter and your sugar just quite right, you're dead. You're just, don't talk to them, kind of, you know. They're awesome women, but yeah, super competitive. They make the jams and the cakes and the knitting and all of these kind of things that you see on show, and they win prizes, and they're very proud of what they do. There was actually a show about a knitting competition. I think it's somewhere on the YouTube thing, and it talks about these women, and they're talking about the knitting, and they're back in the, I think it was the 60s or 70s, this show, and they're just talking about their knitting, and you know, you see them knitting away, and they're absolutely dogged in their determination to do this as fast as they can. It was like a knit off. It was actually quite funny seeing them, and they're the funniest old dears. You know, they wouldn't exactly be showstoppers to look at, but by golly, they'll fight you. So yeah, I've got this cake recipe. This is Marcus's tradition. This is his mum's, well, his grandmother's tradition, because I don't think his mum actually did this cake. I think this is something that I've taken on because he loved it. Whether or not I actually get to the icing standard, that remains to be seen. So that's one thing that we do. That is a black. Let me find a black. Alright, so my tradition that I've been doing for donkey's years is more of the instant desserts. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the bums on seats that I used to have, so I don't know if I'm going to be going quite crazy with the food, with the dessert making that I usually do, which is a bit of a shame because I have trifle for breakfast when I make trifle. So I make trifle. I have a huge bowl. It's probably 8-10 inches deep. It's made from glass kind of leaves. I used to have a set of 2 medium salad bowls and 6 dessert bowls, and they've all, you know, smashed over the years. But I've still got my big trifle dish. Now, the trifle I make has layers. So the bottom layer is, they're all different flavored jellies. So the bottom layer is has sponge in it. The next layer might be a clear jelly with nothing in it. The next layer might have the fruit in it. So I'll get a jar, a tin of what we call cocktail salad, fruit cocktail. They do it slightly differently over here in Australia than they do in the UK or Ireland, because it would be, well, they do the jelly different as well. They do the aeroplane jelly, which is the crystals, as opposed to jelly, set gelatin kind of blocks that they do in Ireland and England. So the recipe works out a little bit differently, but I've managed to adapt it because I've been here 19 years and I've had to adapt most of my recipes. So I'll get the tin of the fruit, which look, it's kind of similar. It's got pear, it's got peach. The Irish one used to have these little squishy grapes, and it had, I think, some glacé cherries. There was something of dubious colour, red, in there. And that would go into one of the other layers. Then you get another layer of the clear jelly. May or may not put another layer of sponge in. I don't tend to overdo it with the sponge. The sponge tends to just get the very bottom layer. And then at the top, so you've got maybe 5 layers of the jelly, and then at the top I will put a layer of custard. Now custard's a weird thing in Australia. Over in Ireland we have bird's custard, and it's a powder, and you make it from scratch. Over here in Australia, and I never remembered being able to buy this over in Ireland. So this is why it's a new thing for me. Oh, what did I... No, I missed the ones. Right, I'll get that back out. So the bird's custard was this powder. You mix up your custard powder into a paste with a little bit of the milk, and then you boil the milk on the stove and you stir it until it's thick. Over here you can buy custard in 2 litre bottles or 1 litre containers of runny custard. Now runny custard doesn't work in trifles because it's too runny, it doesn't set. So I have to make my custard. Trying to find my powdered custard has been interesting. It doesn't keep very well, so it tends to have to buy a new one each year because it just doesn't get eaten the rest of the year. Although Sophie is a custard freak. She loves her custard. So there's a layer of custard, and then there's a layer of whipped cream, and then I get a flake bar and scrunch it up and scatter the chocolate flakes on the top. So that's my trifle, and it fills up to the bottom of the leaf where they kind of divide. So this is a huge beast of a thing. So there's trifle. I have made what's called a chocolate bomb. The chocolate bomb is, again, it's been adapted slightly to allow for Australian ingredients and newer flavours, because orange yogurt it used to be a thing and then it wasn't a thing. We have Yoplait in Ireland. I'm not sure if you have Yoplait over in the States, but Yoplait in Ireland had little kind of wax tubs. Here I've got what's called Gippsland Dairy, and they have an blood orange and mango yogurt that I've been using. So that's the orange yogurt I use. Now the orange yogurt is mixed in with whipped cream, which is mixed in with half melted jelly. So you melt the jelly in a concentrated amount. So it's cream, it's jelly, it's yogurt. I think that's it. That's the filling. And then I add a tin of mandarins. They're mandarins in syrup that I just drain off. And the lining of the bowl, it's a particular bowl that I have. It's actually one that used to be my mum's from her mixer. And it's got a shallow, so let me do it that way. It's got a shallow round, but it's got straight edges. So it ends up coming out like, kind of like the top of a bomb, I suppose. Because what you do is you line the whole bowl with Swiss roll. I spray or grease the bowl so I can actually get the thing out when it's finished. But so I put the lining of the Swiss roll around the edge of the bowl, and then I pour in the liquid cream, jelly and yogurt mixed together, and then I drop in mandarins into the belly of the sauce. And how many C's have I got? I've got quite a few. So you've got some of these mandarins suspended in the sauce. I throw that back in. I top off the top with more Swiss roll, and I put it in the fridge to set. So the next day I take this beastie out, I flip it upside down onto a plate, and I'm left with what looks like a messy Swiss roll kind of bomb. Now what I do with that is then I melt dairy milk chocolate, and it gets drenched all over the outside, and it forms that hard shell, again looking kind of like a bomb. Hence the name chocolate bomb. Now I have adapted this recipe further by taking the orange flavour, so the orange jelly and the orange yogurt. I've changed it to a strawberries and cream. And the strawberry and cream one that I do, or have done on a couple of occasions, I have done with strawberry yogurt and strawberry jelly, and I have put white chocolate on the outside of the bomb. So I have the two different flavours, and my kids absolutely adored it. Now, my daughter is gluten intolerant, the 19-year-old, and I make it for her because all the ingredients itself on the inside are gluten-free, and I just make hers without a case. So I put hers into a bowl, and she has chocolate bomb filling without the Swiss roll portion, so she doesn't have the gluten. So that's her bit of a treat when everyone else is having the gluten, because there's usually a little bit more than what you need to make it. It's a pretty precise recipe, to be honest, but there's usually a tiny bit more that I can pour off into a separate kind of carrier for her. So that's the chocolate bomb. Now, the other thing I do is I don't think we've got a name for it, really. My version of this is, it's a chocolate slice. Oh gosh, brain fart. What is the name of the biscuits? The chocolate biscuits. What's the chocolate cream slice I do? What are the chocolate biscuits? They're just Arnott's chocolate biscuits. There's nothing fancy about them. No, not the tiramisu. No.
Caramel slice.
No, not caramel slice. Oh dear. Anyway, these are chocolate biscuits, and there is nothing at all fancy about these biscuits. They're just plain. There's no choc chips or anything that you've got to concern yourself about. And what I do is I dip them into orange juice, a good quality orange juice, and then I layer them with, so I have the chocolate biscuit, I've dunked it in orange juice, I take it out, I put a spoonful of whipped cream and slap it on one side, and then I sandwich them together. Now, my twist on this is to add in ginger biscuits. So I alternate every chocolate biscuit with the ginger biscuit, and that gets layered up in what I call a quiche dish. It's only a shallow dish, and that's also a dessert that I will have as a breakfast. But so what you get, 2 packets of biscuits, a packet of ginger and a packet of chocolate biscuits, and yeah, it still feeds a horde. So I think last year when I made it, the cream was starting to dry out, and it was just like, I can't eat all of this stuff. It was insane. So yes, I struggle with all the desserts that I make for Christmas. We haven't discussed what meat we're having. It had been a non-tradition, I suppose. It had been a tradition, I suppose, that my brother had created of not actually having turkey on Christmas. So he would have things like venison, or he might have a particular pork steak, or he might have a particular beef steak, or something different. He would choose a different meat, but it wasn't turkey. It wasn't the traditional turkey that you would expect, maybe turkey and ham at Christmas time. And over here in Australia, and to be honest, you don't want to be cooking a roast turkey. You sure as hell don't want to be eating a roast turkey. What they actually do here is they cook it and eat it cold, and they have the family around for basically a buffet, kind of smorgasbordy, free-for-all at the table. But it's all cold cuts, so that's one thing I found that's a little bit different. Still kind of getting used to that. We did have the smoker going last year. I'm not sure if we are going to have the smoker going this year, because the oil drum is in some disrepair. It's been used so often, it's got some holes. We might be able to get it fixed, and if we do, we will have smoked turkey. Oh my god, smoking in this smoker is just incredible. I discovered this after my husband was kind of going, oh, I make this thing called a what is it? The bacon explosion. The bacon explosion is basically bacon on steroids with barbecue sauces, and oh my god. So he kept this bloody secret from me for ages, for years, just bragging about it, telling me, oh, this is wonderful, this is wonderful. And one day I come home and he's actually making this bacon explosion with the mincemeat layers and the... I've got to missed another one. Far out. So yeah, he made this bacon explosion. I discovered the smoker. Holy cow. We used it every single weekend then for the next year. It was just awesome. And we nailed recipes, and we smoked turkey over the Christmas lead up when it was in the supermarkets for cheap. And you know, we only had the one freezer at the time, and we stocked up as much as we could to cram into this freezer. So now we've actually got an empty freezer. We might buy some more turkeys this year. We haven't even bought turkeys this year. You know, it's the 7th of December. We don't shop in store as such. We shop actually online. So I'm not sure if we just haven't seen them or we just haven't been paying attention because they're in a different section of the store. So yeah, we've got to get turkeys. We actually have a ham downstairs in the fridge from last year that had a Best By use by date on it of something like April or May. It's still sealed. I haven't looked at it. I'm sure it's actually fine, but yeah, we didn't get around to using it. Oops. So ham might be a little bit lighter on because the girls hadn't been using them in sandwiches, and I was making chicken Caesar salads for my sandwiches and wasn't using ham either. So it just wasn't getting used. So we actually have got a ton of ham. So I don't think we'll go too crazy if we do go down the traditional turkey and ham route. The other thing is we don't know who we've got for Christmas. If we do something for Christmas and when it's going to be, because we do a custody changeover on either Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and that's for just a 24-hour period, so it kind of screws all the kind of general plans up. So Christmas Day isn't necessarily going to be Christmas Day for us in the maybe normal sense of things, but then Christmas Day wasn't Christmas Day for me as a family when I got married, because we spent Christmas Day with my kids. Yeah, the first marriage. We spent Christmas Day with our kids, and then we would get together with my family, my siblings, you know, during the week or the week after even, because my family were, you know, down the bottom end of Ireland. So my brother would have to drive up with his girls, and, you know, people do their own family traditions, and then they had in-laws as well. That went flying. So, yeah, Christmas wasn't Christmas Day, and that's fine, and that's what we had got used to. So yeah, haven't discussed really with the parents because it's too far out yet, so we actually don't know what the rest of our Christmas plans are, but maybe as the Advents come through I'll be able to fill you in on that. What else did we used to do, or what did I used to do even? Mum and Dad were part of what they called Marriage Encounter group when I was a kid, and we used to get together with these families quite regularly. And I think it was originally from like a marriage course that they went on. Dad was big into resourcing himself and skilling in different areas, and they did the marriage course, and you know, it did pretty well for them. I haven't really talked to him about it much as an adult, to be honest, but we used to get together with these families, and there would be church events and stuff that we would go to because Mum and Dad were staunch Catholic. Dad still is staunch Catholic and will actually go to Mass every day. The convent is just across the road that he goes to, and you know, he's very strong in the Catholic faith. So I remember having the Advent candles, and yeah, as I said last week, I used to be responsible for lighting them when I was old enough. As the youngest in the house, we would go to the novena in our Catholic church that we were part of. The novena was actually one of the things I actually liked the most. It was a little bit more folksy. We actually had the folk group there. I'll just grab my Y because I've gone and missed a colour. The folk group only ever used to do evening masses in Ireland, so I didn't get really to go because Dad would go to the morning mass. We always went to the 11:15 mass, so you get to see the same people week in, week out. And yeah, when I was home, we would actually sit up front because Mum was in the wheelchair, and they would bring communion to her, or Dad would wheel her kind of to an area where other people would, you know, get communion nearby. As I progressed through my teenage years and was kind of going to church on my own, I progressed down to the back door and then out to youth group. When the youth group started meeting on a Sunday morning, that was really cool. Yeah, so the novenas were great. The novenas had different kind of songs. I always enjoyed singing as a kid. And the novena had these different songs. You had a tiny little book that was, 5 inches high and 3-4 inches wide, and it was packed full of songs. And you sing these different songs. So lots and lots of not just carols, but hymns and things like that. So it was a chance to kind of get away from the normal kind of church setup, which would be, the set role of Catholic Church, where you've got your, I used to call it the stand, sit, kneel kind of cycle, where it was very much by rote, and you went through the formula, and the only thing that actually changed each week was the sermon. The novenas were very, very different. They were much more free. As I say, the folk group got involved, and they had tambourines, all kinds of trippy. They had guitars. I think they may have even had a drum kit. Come on, drum kits in church was like, yeah. That's really kind of, breaking the boundaries and, rebelling. Actually, they probably didn't have a drum kit. They probably just had the guitars, and that was enough. But tambourines. The novenas were awesome. Really, really used to enjoy doing them. And I lay bets that they still do them in Foxrock Church on the Christmas lead up, along with many, many other Irish churches that they would do. So it used to do that. That used to be, I think, a 7-day in a row kind of thing. I'm not sure if it was in the Advent period or on either side of it, or what the general scheme of it was, but it always seemed to be bitter cold. So maybe it was just potentially in the winter time. But yeah, it was like a set kind of rotation of nights, and yeah, got the Catholics involved in something a little bit more kind of freer. So yeah, involved in that. Got to the folk mass, because it was an evening thing as well. We didn't go out in the evenings, potentially because Mum was not able to do the cold. She always had a rug around her knees, so, because she was in a wheelchair and she wasn't mobile, she probably felt the cold more than anything else. Yeah, so that's some of the Irish memories. So yeah, had the Advent candles. We also had this wooden thing that Dad had brought back from one of the countries that he had travelled to with his training job. So potentially it was from Russia or Germany or somewhere, but it was like a balsa wood, 3 wise men, I think, out of these curly kind of wood things. So we'd have the candles lit and the top would spin. So it was a bit of an event having that out, and lighting the little white candles. We used to actually get the little white candles. They're similar to the ones that you would get in the Catholic Church when you went to light a candle to say a prayer. So they're, you know, they're like the pencil, but they're only short. So you'd put those underneath these spinny things, and the heat of the candles would make the air rise and make the top fan spin, which would spin the little carousel on the bottom. I'm sure you've seen them around. One thing that is fairly new to me, and I know seems to be quite big over in the States, are nutcrackers. And I remember hearing, I think it was a preacher's wife talking about her collection of nutcrackers, and they're like the tin soldier kind of things. These things were huge. I didn't know what the hell they were. When they were talking about collecting nutcrackers, I'm kind of thinking, you collect nutcrackers like the 2 little arm things? Why would you collect? No, these are fancy nutcrackers. They're awesome. Kind of statues that would stand around the house, and obviously the the head or something would be used to crack the nuts. We only ever tended to get nuts in Ireland at Halloween. I don't know if I actually said it in the Halloween DP-a-thon, but yeah, the only time we could get nuts was around about Halloween, and we'd get the bags, the string kind of bags, or plastic string bags of Brazil nuts and almonds, hazelnuts, walnuts. Oh, and peanuts. So they would all be mixed in the bag together, or you might get the peanuts in their own bag, and then you get all the heavy nuts in their bag. So I don't know if we stocked up at Halloween for the Christmas period. Mum used to give us the cake stirring trick with the pudding. She used to make steamed pudding. We had a pressure cooker that she would do steamed puddings in. She had these tubs that she used. I don't know where they originally came from. I think they came with a lid, and there was these different sizes. And they're kind of like the whole Tupperware style tub. All the housewives in Ireland would have had one. So all of these aesthetic shapes I would remember. So Mum would make her plum pudding in one of these, and then she'd string it up with cloth and hang them, and so she would do it in the bowl as opposed to just the muslin cloth and hang it. Yes, that was the plum pudding. I don't know that she ever did brandy custard. I think brandy custard is more of a thing here. I know I've certainly seen it talked about, but Mum didn't do the brandy custard. Others may have in Ireland, but it wasn't usually the time for us to go travelling and visiting, unless it was maybe to the cousins. And I don't remember that I would have maybe eaten at their house. Fruitcake wasn't a big thing for me. Wasn't a fan of it when I was a kid, but I do enjoy it now. Maybe because of some of the memories, and maybe because my tastes have actually matured a little bit. And I like the fruitcake. And you don't tend to get too much with the marzipan and the icing these days. Although in saying that, I did go to Woolies, our grocery store, in a lunch break at work, and they had these tiny little squares, like tiny squares, cubes of fruitcake with a layer of, I think it was just a layer of icing. I don't think they had marzipan on top. But that was a nice treat. But if I was going to get proper fruitcake, I would probably need to go to my CWA ladies and get one of them. They actually have a fundraiser cake called a Lion's Cake here. I don't know what the equivalent would be. Probably... Sorry? Yeah, well, Rotary is the Australian. I don't know what an equivalent would be over in the States. I don't know if you have a veterans kind of association where you fundraise to help the vets by making cakes. Well, this is the kind of thing I'm... Sorry? Rotary was what? I don't know if Rotary is international. Please let me know. Is Rotary international? Kind of... I don't know. Anyway, it's these fundraising things, and they do the traditional cakes. You can buy them in supermarkets nowadays, or you can buy them from the RSLs, which are the Retired Servicemen's League or something, where the guys all go and have a few beers whenever, if they had been in service, and those kind of facilities would do that. So I have one of those. I have that. Have I got any? Nope. I have A's. I have S's. I have that. Have I got any L's? I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing. I'm not seeing. I do need that. T. Yeah, there's T's on either side, and there's E's. Yes. All right. I'm actually enjoying the way that this has been bagged up. I bagged this into the Ziploc bags, and I've put them into 3 rows of 3. Sorry, 3 rows of 10, give or take. And yeah, it's working out for me for getting the colours. Now this, it's got a few, but not too many. So yeah, from the point of view of working out of baggies, yeah, it's a thing. And it means that I can have it fairly compact. The other kit that I have actually in bags that I work on very occasionally is my Victoria's Moon of my horse. And because it's in the bags, it's compact in a box, and it's easy to work on a section and then put it away, and it's not taking up a full bottle kit or anything like that. And it's a lot of colour blocking as well in that kit. So check out that on some of my other whipping chats. I think I have it on one of my more recent ones. This one I'm supposedly trying to concentrate a bit more on Christmassy stuff. Although, I'm sorry, I did tangent on the beginning. And you got boarding school crows instead. Oh! One of the other things I tried doing is gingerbread making. I had a store here that I used to be able to go to. It was like a coffee shop that was run by a French pastry chef, and it's called Jean Pascal. Very French name. But he, or the shop, would make gingerbread houses. Now his gingerbread houses are the bomb. They're absolutely awesome. They are small houses, kind of like the size of my iPad. So a typical iPad, kind of A4. It's an iPad 2, not a mini. You know, so reasonably substantial. But Jean Pascal would actually put meringue into the middle of the body of the gingerbread house, which a lot of the other companies don't. So I can get gingerbread houses from another store. There's no point in me really rattling off names, to be honest. But there is another store that does gingerbread houses that I could get them from. The kids always loved them. I did try making one year. Oh my god, that's so tricky. I think my problem with that was that I didn't cut the... So what did I do? I rolled out the gingerbread, and then I trimmed it, and then I cooked it. I should have probably rolled out the gingerbread to roughly the size, then cook it, then trimmed it when it was still warm. So all the sizes were a little bit off, and this house didn't really work. So I ended up sticking it together quite poorly, sticking all the lollies on top, and it got smashed up like within hours. And then we broke it up into a 5-litre ice cream container, and just had chunks of gingerbread and lollies. So it was good. It was really, really good. Whereas Jean Pascal was pretty and tasty. And you had the bonus of the meringues. Meringues, I have not yet succeeded in being able to make meringues as nice as I would like. So I bought them instead. Whenever I've really needed them. So yeah, gingerbread, definitely a thing. I do love ginger. Or gingerbread. Oh, one of the traditions I did with my children when they were young, Sophie hasn't got this because last year she was under 1, Santa Claus. Santa didn't happen. Stockings did, and what went into the stockings was an orange and a bag of gold coins, chocolate gold coins, and the Santa present, for want of a better term. The Santa present was usually something that they didn't ask for, and it was usually something small that they could play with on their bed kind of thing. So it might have been a deck of cards, it might have been some markers and something to draw on, you know, that kind of small gift. Dad continued to do my stocking when I was up into my, I think 18 or something when I moved out. 18, 19 when I would have been 20 when I moved out. So he still did my stocking then. And I think he did it for my sister when she happened to be staying with him one year, and she was, you know, probably in her 40s. So yeah, that was kind of cute tradition that we had. So Santa, I'll probably fill you in a bit more as we get closer to it, with the whole Santa thing. I'm maybe leaving that for the Christmas Day premiere more than anything else. Talking about my Christmas stories, but yes, I have got a Christmas story about Santa. What else would we do? So we've got the ginger. Christmas in Ireland in the supermarkets. There's a couple of memes that are going around at the moment talking about quick, get in the shops now, the stores are going to close for 12 hours on Christmas Day kind of thing. You know, there's the mad panic, right? In my local supermarket in Ireland, and I actually used to work as a checkout chick, so it was even more mental. The Christmas period, the stores were black. Now what I mean by black is they were thick with people. There were queues up the aisles on the couple of days before Christmas. It was mental. You would swear the shops were closing for a week. Here in Australia, nothing different whatsoever. Marcus did come home and tell me, I think, that there was Christmas music playing in the stores. I didn't pay attention, and I haven't been into the... Sorry? Yes, you have graduated from my husband. Yeah, he said there was music playing in the supermarkets the other day, like Christmas music. We'd have the Christmas music, but we'd have all the specials. So the supermarket I used to work with was called Super Quinn. Super Quinn is now gone. Super Quinn was the brainchild of, I think it was Michael Quinn, one of the Quinns anyway, started up this supermarket, and it was, you know, exceptional quality in food. I certainly questioned some of their business practices, but anyway, the food was phenomenal. At the time Super Quinn was running, people used to actually fly to the States with their Irish sausages, their smoked salmon, the ham, that kind of thing. It was Irish flavours, I suppose, that the expats over in the States couldn't get. I'm the same. I probably thought it was weird then, but I don't now. Oh, Irish brown bread, that's the thing, I'll get back to that. So yeah, the supermarket was just absolutely crazy. It was jam-packed. We used to get in special stock for Christmas. We'd have things which you could probably get more every day now, but things like chocolate Kimberley biscuits would only ever come out at Christmas time, and chocolate Kimberley biscuits actually came out in tins, and the tins would be now how would they do it? They would do it so they had 2 biscuits on top of each other, and it must have been 4 biscuits, 4 by 4, so 16 by 2, 32 biscuits in a tin. So that, you know, there were these square tins. Tins only ever came out really for the Christmas period. So you'd get the tins of sweets, the tins of lollies, you'd get the tins of biscuits, the special selection biscuits. So you'd only get these particular biscuits in these tins. It was very much a special event, the whole kind of Christmas in the store kind of thing. So you would only get these products at certain times a year. Over here in Australia, you seem to be able to get them all year round, which kind of takes a bit of the special event out of it. What happened last year in the supermarkets, just to give you an idea, this is the kind of commercialism of the buying season. I think it was Boxing Day when the stores reopened, or 2 days later, hot cross buns were already in the store, and Easter was early this year. It was early in April. So still months and months away, but Christmas was literally barely out the door, and you've got Easter buns in the store. And there was outrage, as there has been outrage for every other year. I complain that the Christmas stuff is being sold in the stores in September at my birthday, and you know, Halloween hasn't even happened, and they're starting on the Christmas stuff, that kind of thing. But yeah, Easter eggs are like literally the day after Christmas is kind of wrapped up, and Christmas isn't really over if you have any religious affiliation at all. Christmas isn't over for us until the 6th of December, which was allegedly when the wise men actually made it to the stable. That's what I grew up believing. It was the Feast of the Epiphany. Epiphany? Or was it? Yeah. I thought the Epiphany was when Mary was told she was pregnant, but I could be getting the name wrong. But as far as I knew, Little Christmas, the 6th of January, was when the wise men got to the stable. So like I say, Christmas wasn't over until the 6th of January. But the supermarkets seem to have taken over the whole dates of everything, and yeah, I was going to say something with some choice wording, but decided not to. So yeah, tins were a thing. So we'd only get these wrapped lollies or special lollies in the tins. Selection boxes were a thing in Ireland. Selection boxes were a Cadbury's thing. Selection boxes had all the different chocolate bars in them. You could still get them here to a certain extent. They're not quite as good as Ireland. We actually used to get friends from Ireland would send them to my kids when they were little, and they'd all have a selection box each, and I used to charge them a chocolate tax, so I'd get one of the bars. Usually the dairy milk, because that was the thing I was missing. Now I'm luckier in that I can get dairy milk in my local supermarket, so I'm not quite so I need a bar of chocolate, I need a bar of chocolate. And yeah, it's Irish chocolate, Irish dairy milk. It's very different from the Australian dairy milk. So yeah, that was a thing. They were the special treats. You used to be able to get lollies in tubes. Now I think I had got one. I may have shown it on camera before. They would be things like Smarties tubes or fruit pastille tubes or fruit gum tubes. I've gone and sent a drill flying and I can't see where it went. Looking for an odd place drill and I don't see it. Alright, the tubes were, in my mind, they were about a foot long. I think they're shorter these days. But it was a tube of lollies. So, yeah, you'd have this foot long tube of Smarties. The only other way you used to be able to get Smarties in bulk when I was growing up was like a deck of cards or a cigarette box of cards, box of Smarties. So that's, you know, it was a big size. Maybe it was 150, 200 grams in the Smartie box. You used to be able to get those boxes, but the treat was to have the tube. And I think that's it. The treat was really just in the packaging. The packaging changed. But they would do these at Christmas time and no other time. So it was special. It was set aside. And yeah, they were different biscuits that you would only ever get. Now I can get chocolate Kimberleys, you know, just in the supermarket today. So there's not really that much special about it. Although look, I've got these. These are called Flips. These are pretzels covered in chocolate. Oh my god, they're so good. I love the salty pretzel and the chocolate. But we're getting so gourmet these days. You can get, what was it, Cadbury's chocolate. Cadbury company came out with chocolate bars which had salted chips in them and other weird flavors, and then they've got the celebrations, and yeah, they've just gone all out with the gourmet. The kettle chips are a big thing, and Pringles, I swear, are about half the size than they used to be. Yeah, I missed an A. Doesn't that always happen? I looked. Oh, there's some more. Okay, I'm going to close it and get to it next. Yeah, so lollies would be specially packaged. One biscuit I remember was Fox's ginger biscuits, and I can't find them anymore. Don't think they do them in Ireland, but they were a thin, crispy, sweet biscuit. They were gorgeous. Loved them. Very disappointed they didn't work or continue. What else was there? There was After Eights. After Eights were an after dinner mint, which are chocolate with a mint fondant in the centre. They're runny. After Eights, Dad used to always get the long, they're not a tube, the long box. They were probably more than a foot long. Maybe they were about the foot long, to be honest. I could sometimes get them if they got exported to Australia by whatever company would do them. We have got a fake After Eight. It's not a fake After Eight, it's just a different company After Eight. But they're not the same. Love After Eights. There was a meme also going around about biscuit tins, I think it was, and your mum always had the shortcake biscuit tin as her sewing kit. How many homes had this as their sewing kit kind of thing? And my mum didn't have a she didn't have a sewing kit in a tin. She actually had a sewing basket, but her button tin was a tin that she had forever. But I used to go into it quite regularly just to look at the buttons. They were really cool. Some odd ones, and I would add to it and I would take from it on occasion. Yeah, but the tins were always handy. Dad had tins right throughout the garage for his kind of stuff. I think he even used one. No, he didn't. He had an enamel tray. I was thinking for his oil change when he did the oil changes in the car, because he was a mechanic and did it himself. He didn't do, I think this, oh, well, let's go with that was an A. Yeah, so he had biscuit tins in the garage. He used an OXO tin. I don't know if you know OXO. OXO is the beef stock cube from England. It's a powdery cube, and I don't know if your stock cubes over in the States are a dry or a fatty kind of consistency. Well, the OXO cube was such that you could crush it dry, and you crushed it into the hot water, and yeah, that was OXO. OXO was awesome. But if you bought them in bulk, you had this big tin. Well, Dad used to use two of these tins in the garage. One of them being his glue tin, so the inside lid would be covered in glue from the compound glues that he would mix together to make the epoxies when he was doing his really fancy gluing, and I didn't understand that magic at all. Yeah, so tins were a thing back me growing up. And my dad was born in the late 20s. Mum 5 years after him. So they were a frugal generation. He had, woolly jumpers he would wear forever. And they would recycle and they would repair, and that's just what they did because they weren't stupid with the environment. So yeah, he would repurpose things. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the whole disposability now. Plastic tubs are great because I suppose you can't really recycle some of the crap that they sell things in, so it's not like you can actually use the wooden crates, and they take up more space or they're heavy or whatever. So there's some kind of continuity, but yeah, the packaging these days you can't necessarily reuse or repurpose, unfortunately, in the same way that they might have done. Mum had a string bag. I actually had a pram when my kids were little that we had a string bag hanging off, and when I left the pram outside of the car and drove off, we lost the pram and string bag with it. I haven't seen anything like it since. Now I know with the whole no shopping bag policy kind of thing, no recyclable, what is it? It's got to be recyclable. It can't be a one-use plastic anymore in the stores. Now with that kind of policy in store, I've seen it probably more on the internet about getting these net bags, but they're still not the same kind of quality that my mum had. It was like a cotton, kind of like the linen that you may have seen in the Darn Good Yarn box just unboxed recently. It was that kind of feel. It's probably a lot sturdier than that linen because it was actually long lasting. But yeah, it lasted for ages. I really wish I knew what happened to that pram, but yeah. I don't know how we forgot it. We must have just driven straight out of the parking space that we were in and completely forgot it was behind the car. One of those stupid mummy brain moments. Because that had been my brother's pram for his kids that we got and it was gorgeous. It was a navy and white stripy pram, but the handle was the perfect height, and the thing used to fold down in increments, so if the kids conked out, you know, the boys would be laid back and they could sleep and all of that kind of thing. And I could hang stuff off the back and it wouldn't topple over. Well, it did topple over a couple of times when I took a kid out of the pram. The pram went crash bang on the ground. But I kind of learned how to put the centre of gravity kind of in under the seat, because there was no under seat storage. But yeah, I learned how to work that. But yeah, lost it. Sad. But yeah, recycling. It was a pram that we reused. I had the cot for years. I don't know what happened. I sold the cot when I moved out of the house, having kept it for ages, expecting grandchildren to be able to stay in it. And yeah, lo and behold, we have our little one. I was like, oh well, just have to buy another one. Yeah, I was really bad at throwing stuff out just because of what I'd come from. Dad just kept the long-lasting stuff. He had a cabinet, actually it was a really fancy cabinet, in the garage that I always wanted. It was a sideboard, but it had these grape embossing embellishments on the woodwork that I absolutely adored. He had vice grip holes through it and stuff. So he's kind of going, why would you want to have that? And I was like, because I always remember the time in the garage, time with Dad, that to me growing up was invaluable. You know, I probably wouldn't have had a clue what he was doing, but I remember being out there, just hanging out with him, getting into stuff myself. I actually don't know what I was doing in the garage. I don't think he'd given me tasks, not maybe at the younger age. Maybe I was just watching him. But what he would do was he would crack open the garage door. The garage door was one that would kind of lever up and out. So I don't know, we have a garage door here. It's somehow the garage door in my childhood home seemed bigger, but then of course I was smaller. But the light used to spill into the garage, and you know, so you'd have daylight while you were working on whatever you were working on. And Dad, as I said, would tinker on his own car, doing the oil changes or whatever else he could do manually while they were still I was going to say old-fashioned cars, but before they were fully computerized things that you just can't service yourself these days. He would do all those kind of maintenance-y things. I've gone and missed some Y's. Y's was those three. Did we do anything else at Christmas? We would sing carols. We'd probably play carols on the radio. Mum had stories on a funky disc, kind of tape thing, that she would get from the lending library. There was a special machine that she used to play them on. I've got to missed another one. Gold. Okay, so that's 3. Alright, I need to get 11. What? That's not the right colour. There we go. Typical missing or going past. I swear I looked. If you think it's any different when I'm not talking on camera, it's not. I will be going through and I will stop and I will pause and I will look and put it away, and then it's like, oh, there you are. Or they'll be like these ones that are hidden in the baubles. I looked at 3 baubles, I thought, and still missed them. Still missed one. Alright, what is next? Tea. Now, I'm looking for the teas. I did say that there was teas, but now I'm looking at the gaps and I'm not seeing them. I'm seeing them off to the side and I'm not doing the non-tree bit yet. There are some here, but yeah, tea can wait. This tea can't. Alright, now, there's a few of these. So, if you have kept up with me jabbering on about food, as I often do on Whip and Chats, yeah, you're probably thinking I'm food obsessed. Well, yeah, maybe. What would be some of the foods you would do for your family? You might need to give either ingredients. If you want to give recipes, give recipes. But if there was something that you have that you always have every year, drop it in the comments. Let me know. Share what you do. It's always fun to see different traditions, especially when they're international traditions. So you've got, you know, European traditions or otherwise. Oh, yes, brown bread. Brown bread always used to be a thing for me. Dad used to make brown bread all the damn time. It was just a staple kitchen ingredient, to be honest. But at Christmas time, we would have brown bread with salmon. He'd have brown bread with honey on it at other times of the year anyway. And I would make it with and put marmalade on it. So marmalade or honey would be my kind of everyday thing when I lived in Ireland. Well, when I came here, again, the brown bread wasn't a thing. You couldn't get the brown bread mix. You couldn't get the brown flour because the brown flour that they do in Australia or in Tasmania, they mill it too fine, so it didn't work for brown bread. Brown bread, Irish brown bread, is quite coarse. And I tried investigating whether or not I could use like a buckwheat thing, or not even a buckwheat, but a whole grain. And it just wasn't there. Dad used to mix, he had a trick. I think he used to mix half the brown flour, wholemeal brown flour, with half maybe regular flour or something else. He had some trick to it. Well, since I moved to Australia, there is a company here called taste.com.au or Taste Ireland, and Taste are an Irish importer, and Taste have brought in the Odlum's flour mixes, so I can get, if I'm careful, the Irish brown bread mix. And I have made that and have had smoked salmon on that on Christmas Day. That's kind of the Christmas Day breakfast. One year in Ireland, when I was working in the supermarket, I had a friend in the bakery, and Brian made an arrangement for me to be able to get the croissants. The croissants used to come in, I think they used to come in frozen. So he gave me a dozen croissants, sold them to me. And on Christmas morning, I actually baked fresh croissants in the oven, and we had fresh croissants and, I don't know, maybe cream cheese and salmon, or we had ham and cheese or whatever it was, as a really special Christmas morning treat one year. Or smoked salmon, I think, might have got put into it as well. But Irish smoked salmon is very different. It's Well, from what I can remember, it's a proper smoked salmon. It's not a chemical smoke. It is a cold smoke. But yeah, different. I have gone to my local fish store here that does smoked salmon. It's not bad. It is pretty good. But my husband is not a fan of fish, and yeah, he's very disappointed. Which is funny because every time we go out, that's what he chooses in a restaurant. But he says he doesn't like fish. Yeah, so it's very, very good for you, but he can't stand the smell of it. Can't stand the smell of it cooking, so I rarely have tins of tuna because then he'd, smell the tuna. So I don't really kind of go down that whole salmon at Christmas kind of avenue, or haven't up until now. I think I did it the first year. The first year was like, it's tough. I'm going to stick with my traditions, thanks, to a certain extent. But yeah, I'm kind of getting slightly weaned off it. The other thing that I had in my previous household quite a bit would have been getting the oysters in for oyster shooters or oysters Kilpatrick. And I would make that because what we would do as a family was host a Boxing Day barbecue, and we'd have a whole heap of church friends come around for a barbecue on Boxing Day, and that was a way for us to have family and friends around when we actually didn't have family in Australia. So that was one way that we coped with it. So it was a fairly big annual tradition in the ex-household. But we also had a huge house that we could do it in. We had the space, we had the weather, and we had the garden space. More importantly, we had the garden space because the kids could just piss off down the garden. And yeah, we just had to worry about catering, so people would bring food to share and chuck it on the barbecue. And I also did, I think, a leg or two of lamb on the barbecue and a bunch of salads. And yeah, like the lamb I get now almost every weekend. Yeah, we used to have it like twice a year. Yeah, I'm so spoiled now. But yeah, so that was part of the whole Christmas tradition, because we as ex-Irish, because my ex-husband was Irish, we as ex-Irish didn't have the connections here that the Aussies had, so we would just open our house to anyone who was available who wanted to come on the Boxing Day. So that was just, part of the thing, of opening our hands to others. Now that's a bit of it went to the wrong spot. It's stuck on the blue tack I've got is kind of spilling it out just a little bit too much. It's probably just a smidge too much in there. So I'm having to keep on pushing it back in, but it's absolutely manky dirty. I need to refresh all of my pens, and I just haven't got around to doing it yet. Oh, the other thing is I'm working, not Christmas Day this year, but I've been rostered to work Boxing Day, and I'm off. So I'm off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, which is the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and then I'm working the Thursday and Friday. And then I'm off for the weekend, and I know I'm off on New Year's Eve. No, I'm working, I think, New Year's Eve. And maybe it was working New Year's Day and the next day, and off New Year's Eve. I can't remember. It's a little bit too far out. I don't care quite what's happening to days that far out. Because somebody had been talking about doing a live on New Year's night. And I was just kind of thinking, oh, that's going to clash with my work. But that's okay. I'll catch up eventually with all that's going on. Yeah, there's going to be 47 hours of premieres to catch up on. Well, some of that I'm going to be able to be here for. Some of it I'm going to have playing in the kitchen maybe while I'm doing food prep. As I say, I've got to work out what I'm working so that I know when we can have the in-laws come for dinner, or when we go to them for dinner. I'm not quite sure what any of those plans are. They're coming for dinner on Monday because it's my mum-in-law's birthday. She is going to be 73, I think, give or take. No? Sorry? Oh, so she'd be 75. Whereas my dad's turning 92 next May, if he gets there. He does a Christmas letter every year, just kind of filling in things, and I think it was this year again he was talking about traveling internationally, and I'm kind of thinking he's still talking about traveling internationally. He last came out to Australia in hang on, I went over in 2014. My granddaughter is 4. So he came out 2015. He came out the year after. So that's when he last travelled internationally. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he went to Poland with my sisters. So he's, yeah, and that was only last year. So he's still travelling. He's still fit and up and down the country constantly. The siblings tend to go to him a bit more often than he goes to them, or they will drive him around. I think he drives locally. Get off the road. If he's driving, yes, he's a bit scary. He's driving a Prius. He was the first in the family, I think, to go to a Prius. He's the last in the family to go to an iPhone. He's actually got an iPhone this year. I got the Christmas letter actually to proofread along with the rest of the siblings before Dad sends it out to the general family. And I don't think I've even shared it with my husband what he's up to. So he's bought an iPhone because it talks to his hearing aids, and it Bluetooths the sound into his hearing aid, which is supposedly going to help him with conversations with the likes of me and my brother over in Australia, and then whoever else he's talking to on the phone. So yeah, there's no stopping this guy. He was the first in the family to have an Apple computer, and we all bagged him out. And most of the family have followed suit now and have all gone to the Apple. Yeah, he was the first in the family to have a Prius, and I think my brother ended up getting a Prius. Yeah, he's quite groundbreaking in some things, technology-wise. Certainly hasn't stopped him being whatever age he is by number. He went to university to do... now, I could be getting this wrong. I think he got a degree in geology. If he didn't get a degree in geology, he got a diploma or something in it. But yeah, he went back and studied in his late 80s geology. Just blew my mind. Some of me was kind of thinking, why would you go and study something that you can never actually use it as a career? But I kind of didn't think through the whole, you know, it's fun to learn and you're learning new things and that either. So I think I would potentially do something similar. He's obviously got the money to pay for it. And he definitely has the time, whereas I either had the money and didn't have the time, or didn't have the money but had the time. Really frustrating. So yeah, I kind of get the whole going back and studying, and it is a new thing. I mean, he's always been interested, I suppose, in the world around him, and he would always know to a certain extent what we were looking at when it came to the local geology and stuff around the area. But he, you know, studying geology in uni, he would have learned a heap, and out of that then he did, you know, the courses, or, you know, he would have flown to different countries and had a look at other things, or he would have looked at the architecture differently, because he then knew, oh well, this is blah blah rock and this is from here, and you know, we're in this little town here, but there's none of this rock anywhere close, so this rock has come from thousands and thousands of kilometers away. And just knowing all of that kind of intricacy by doing the higher learning, yeah, hats off to him. I would like to be as old and foolish as he is. My big dream still is to travel, to get to see Australia, to get to see the States, to so yeah, I don't want to be hampered by thinking I'm too old to do stuff. Yeah, I think I've said before, I'm probably going to struggle if I do go overseas with food, because I'm afraid of trying things that look like Klingon food over in Asia, but that's minor by comparison. Oops, there is two more. Any more? I think I've gone and missed. No, I haven't missed, because there's too much. Alright, we're nearly coming to an end of this section. Oh, my whipping chats get quite long, don't they? I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing when you're just jabbering away, nothing in particular. I know a lot of people are talking about channel changes. They're talking about their schedules and things like that, and trying to get different routines happening, maybe trying to introduce some more crafts. I think that's pretty cool. I think as crafters, oh my god, what have I done? I've gone and put down these on peas. Poop. They're not peas. You can go there. Excuse me while I fix this. And I just hear Sophie up. What was I doing? That's not a pea. Get out. Well, I'm glad it wasn't many. And that is right. Okay, now we're correct. Lordy. Alright, so yeah, I am trying to get a little bit more of a stable kind of routine happening with my channel. I will do another whip and chat if I can. What my plan was to try and do is to have a whip and chat every Wednesday fortnight. That allows me to do some other things. I have got a project in the pipeline that will be releasing on Mondays. And then I've got the usual smattering of unboxings and other stuff to do. I've got some, well, I've got a ton of editing ready this week on all kinds of stuff. So there's resin making, which I'm really enjoying. I need to do some resin repairs. I was given a gift of the state of Alabama in resin in here, and there's a little chip off it, so I've got to do a repair with the resin. When I've got the resin out, I have an idea of what I'm going to do. And Stephanie has asked me to show her what I've done when I've fixed it, so I'm going to do it in such a way that hopefully it won't snap again. I'm going to build it up, but it's going to be built up with clear, so you won't see the build, but you'll still see the little foot of Alabama as a state shape. So that's something I'm looking forward to trying out. I'm really enjoying the resin work. I have a whole heap of stuff in, I think it's in my cart on AliExpress or some other resin site for what I want to do with my resin work. I have some plans for that, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's not a project you can rush, particularly with, well, either with the UV or with the other one. The setting one is probably trickier in that, well, it's a slow set, so it's not really a quick set. It's not going to set in front of your very eyes, but the UV one will when you put the light onto it. And it will in sunlight too, so you don't have to have a UV light. Although I have my nail container thingy, and I have the UV torch as well, because I got the starter kit. So I've got the resin, yeah, as I say, which I'm loving doing the resin work. I mean, I'll use the kit that I get from Sophie and Toffee probably the once, but I probably won't use it more than that, because now I made an oops the last time and put peas into these, or put these into peas. I think I did it on camera actually. So there's a mixture of these colours in this bag, and I've been trying to take out what I think is the correct one. Haven't always succeeded. There still seems to be a ton of them, but the lighter one does seem to be the top triangle. Anyway, I'll get there eventually, and I might not reuse that bag now. This is the dots. Okay. Yeah, so resin is definitely a thing. Please come and check out my other resin videos with the Sophie and Toffee boxes. But as I say, I'm going to be doing my own. I have got bottles of the resin in my cart as well. I'm just waiting for payday to be able to buy them and get them sent to me. I have got a large bottle of, I think it's the UV hard resin here. But I want to get a bottle of the soft resin. The soft resin, my plans are to use with the notebook. I would like to seal my Steps pencil case that she did, you know, the hardcover pencil case. Well, I gave that to her to be able to do, and now I need to seal it so that we keep all those pretty gems on the box. So I'm going to seal that with resin because it's a hardcover, and I think that will work really, really well. Hey, Bubba. No, 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 no. You're hitting keyboard. What are you doing? There you go. There you go. She's just woken up. What? Oh. Oh dear. This is going to end badly. She's going to have chocolate all over her and potentially won't want to eat her lunch if she gets too much. Yes, I've got to get either distilled water or proper shaker. They call it shaker oil, it's shaker water from Sophie and Toffee. I actually made a bit of an oops. I posted something that was from the competition on the Sophie and Toffee page when somebody asked about transparent sheets for the shakers, and I found the other store had like half the price for more quantity, and posted that link there going, well, this is about half the price if you're desperate. But then we figured out that she could just use acetate or something. But yeah, that was a bit like, oops, shouldn't have done that. I got a telling off thing saying your comment has been pulled because it wasn't part of the rules and these were the rules that I broke. And I was like, oh, oops, yeah, couldn't respond on that one, unfortunately. But yeah, didn't mean to breach rules. But yeah, interesting that I found equivalent kind of product for half the price, and I'm wondering whether or not the Sophie and Toffee product is overpriced for what it is. But I will keep an eye out on it, and as I get more familiar with buying the stuff, I will probably get a lot more shrewd in where I'm spending my money. But for now, it's good to have the practice, it's good to have the lesson, and yeah, I'm certainly enjoying the, well, I was going to say guided tutorial. It's not really guided. I had to go to a website that was linked in a card to be able to learn how to use the kit, and then I figured out that the starter kit didn't even include the thing that I needed to complete the project, and it's like, oh, that's a bit stupid. So from a sensibility point of view, it was disappointing that it didn't come with the shaker thing, and they're giving you the shaker mold. It's kind of like, well, yeah, they're after the aftermarket purchasing, I suppose. I don't know. I'm not into, well, I don't appreciate the after sales service when it's over and above what you know, what is deemed to be a fair price. It's there's adding service and there's ripping you off, and I'm not into being ripped off. Hello. Is that mine? Oh, oops, sticky. Can I have some? Oh, that's mean. Alright, down to the last two. Ooh, Sophie's got a present under the tree. I think I told you last time my husband doesn't believe in wrapping gifts. He believes that the wrapping they come in, as in the mailing wrapping, is enough. So her present is under the tree. It arrived last week, and it's her favourite cartoon character. Or at least I thought it was her favourite cartoon character until we put it on this morning, and she's just ignoring it because, I don't know. She decided to go into the bathroom and take out stuff there, and she was just into all sorts of stuff Because she shouldn't have been in. The TV is supposed to distract her from. No, you're not having more. You can lick the chocolate off your fingers. Clean your fingers. No? Clean your fingers. Yes, it's chocolate because I've just handed her. Oh, no, it's chocolate because she's eating a Flips. So yeah, her present is under the tree. I'm not entirely sure if we're getting her anything else. I was planning on getting things like puzzles, floor puzzles, but we don't have much floor space. And they're really hard to find these days. I used to have some awesome puzzles when my kids were little. From Ireland, Europe, somewhere. Some of the bigger puzzle companies, they were really good at doing some awesome puzzles, and I was quite careful about making sure I had all the puzzle pieces when I put them back in the box. So we only lost, I think, the outer border of one gorgeous. It was an animal kind of puzzle, and the outer edge was a separate kind of border, and that was like leaves and stuff. I'm eating your hair, kid. But I do still have the train puzzle, which has the numbers, and I do still have the alphabet, one of the alphabets. So it's not like she really needs anything brand new. Mind your hand. And look, it's new to her. It's not like she's seen her older brothers or sisters using it. It's not like the boys would have done when they were little and we were getting them, you know, new Christmas presents. What have I done? I've got one too many in there. Let me get these spaced a bit better. I think you might need to go to Daddy and get a wet one. I think he's got the wet ones near him. Don't put your chocolate on, Flopsy. Alright, they are the glow-in-the-darks. Careful, don't pick with your nails. Alright, and we're on to the final of the... Oops, what was that? Did you pick that off, kid? That was a white. Huh? Oh, that wouldn't be a white, that would be a dot. So we'll put, that would be a 3865. And then we'll try and get these. I want 2. That leaves 2 left in the bag, but I think it's only 1 more on the canvas. And I need my tweezers. You're slipping. Are you going to say bye-bye? Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye. See ya. Okay, down you get. Okay, here. Ooh, scoot. Because I need to see what I'm doing. Oh, actually, before I do that, I will do this. There shouldn't be too many clicks. No, Sophie, don't touch. Leave it alone. I'm trialing a mechanical keyboard. It's the mother of all keyboards. This thing is huge. It's like a spaceship. And it lights up. And my husband's got an even funkier one, which does all kinds of pretty lights. Yeah, I get the leftovers. There you go. Okay, I'm finished that section. I will let you go. It's been more than long enough for you to listen to me prattling on. If you have made it this far, though, and you're a creator and you know of another creator who might want to join us for the Christmas, please give them a special invite. The generic invites maybe catch a couple, but specific invites really do catch people. So please, if you have a creator friend in mind, subs, if you have a creator that you would like to see, maybe ask them if you're already friends with them. Yeah, this is week 2 of the Advent candles two candles up there. I was doing some reading this morning, and apparently the third candle is supposed to be pink. I didn't do it in that order, so oops, my bad. But yeah, it is what it is. I will let you go. I will keep going with my Christmas tree in the next video, and the star at the top will get done on the Whip and Chat for Christmas Day. So I don't know what I'll do with the rest of it thing, but we're slowly building a Christmas tree. And it's so pretty. I love, that's just awesome on camera. Just these highlights here. Let me turn this glare off. How freaking cool is that? That is just awesome. This blue is the background. Kind of different, very, very dark blues down here that I can see kind of, well, certainly this bit is very dark blue, and then this bit is some darker blues, and this shadowing is quite dark, but the rest is these gorgeous greens, and yeah, we will get there. So please join me for the premiere. Not just join me for the premiere, join me and all of the other creators that you already know and love for the premiere on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, wherever you are in the world. And yes, bring your holiday cheer, if you have any, and just have a chat with the people in the room with you. Just say Happy Christmas, say hello, and shoot the breeze. Yeah, it's week 2. Christmas is coming. Just over 2 weeks' time. It's gonna get busy with people shopping and getting last minute presents and meeting family and friends and doing what they do. And then there's gonna be the people who are working over Christmas, who are the people who sacrifice for us in doing those kind of shifts. So next week I'm going to have my Christmas nails done, so I will be losing what I call my clinkers. These are my candy nails. These are just supposed to be some light summery nails, but next week is going to be Christmas nails. I was thinking of maybe dark green, and I don't know. My nail technician is going to have a cow, because the other nail technician who she's had substitute for me has had the easy ones. Yeah, sorry. Yes, 2 weeks of having relatively simple nails, and now I go to something more complicated. I will try and be nice to her, and get some reasonably easy nails. Alright, yeah, there's a lot happening over the Christmas period on YouTube. A lot of people are doing Countdown to Christmas. A lot of floss tubers are doing Stitchmas, which is stitching a little bit every day of a project. Please check them out. The colouring people are doing some awesome work in the colouring. Some of them are also doing Christmas colouring challenges of colouring a Christmas themed thing every day, or whatever it is. So yeah, if there's some of those projects that you enjoy doing, please go check out some of the other creators. Maybe type in Christmas through YouTube. Christmas, I don't know, craft. I don't know what people do with the tags. It's not something I've got very big on, over tagging things. I know my daughter does it with her Instagram, and while it might be somewhat useful, I don't know, sometimes it feels like it's not relevant. That's another topic for another day. I'll shoot the breeze on that one some other day. Alright, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week, in particular for the Advent chat and Christmas talk, and let you know where we're up to with the premiere plans. As I say, I still have 2 slots. As of today, I will be doing another shout out again with my creators, and again on Diamond Painting Underground, and trying to get people on board for that, just to fill in those last couple of gaps. And then I will be recruiting moderators from whoever isn't necessarily a creator but might be free to do it. So yeah, that will be the next big rollout. So creators at the moment are busy thinking, what am I going to do and what am I going to talk about for Christmas Day? That's where their heads probably are. Alright, I have said enough. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to let you go. Alright, bye.